Well, since you all seem to like the last video so well on this subject, I decided to continue the series. In case this is your first time joining in on the brotherly love here, we're going to go over things that matter like stats, accomplishments, and try to break down each player's skill set and attributes that they bring to the ice. Now, most of these are current players, but there's a few that have already hung up the skates in the mix too. And with that, here are another 5 sets of NHL brothers compared. Now imagine how surreal it would be to not only play with one of the greatest players to play the game, but also to be able to bond over the experience with your brother. Because that's exactly what Dylan and Ryan Strome now have to look back on. Regardless, both brothers showed much promise coming into the league after showcasing their talents in the OHL. Dylan for the Erie Otters and Ryan for the Niagara Ice Dogs. As the Stromes both had triple-point seasons before their draft day. And as you would expect, in result, were selected in the first round. After moving up in the ranks, the brothers spent some quality time improving their game in the AHL. Following his move to Chicago, Dylan was another to prove that sometimes a change can spark redemption, as he went from a point in 7 games in his first NHL stint with the Yotes to 51 points in 58 games played for the Hawks. While Ryan's change of scenery didn't exactly change his game like his brother's, the forward has recently picked up the pace, points-wise, while finishing last season with his best yet on record with 59 points in 70 games played. In comparison, both players, being at or close to 200 pounds, naturally make their living near the crease, while consistently finding ways to get in position and gain possession. Ryan does seem to have more of a tendency to net one-timers, while Dylan is very good at deflection goals. Off his skate, stick, you name it, 17 will find a way to direct it in. Breaking it down statistically though, while it may seem like playing on an offensive powerhouse of a team might be the reasoning for his stellar season with the Rangers, Ryan actually had a 50-point season with his first NHL team in the Islanders for the 2014-2015 campaign in his sophomore season. Dylan, on the other hand, hasn't quite had that kind of success on multiple occasions, as he played fewer games last season with 58 and only notched 38 points in results. My pick, by a decently slim margin, would have to be the older Strome and Ryan, as he, at this present time anyway, seems to be the more offensively gifted. Even though Dylan isn't half bad himself, the older of the two, with his slick hands and nose for the net, still seems to have the edge over his younger brother. And the Granlunds first made waves in the hockey world while playing for Liga. Both have represented their country multiple times, while Mikael is the more decorated of the two in the international category, as he not only won bronze similarly to Markus in the World Juniors, but also dressed for Finland on multiple occasions at the senior level, and was able to win gold in 2011. Both Finns further developed their game in the AHL after being drafted. Mikael for a single season, while Markus has spent several seasons going back and forth between the minors and the few NHL teams he's played for thus far, that are all Canadian. Anyways, while dissecting the brothers' game, both are seemingly keen when it comes to vision and have killer wristers. They're mutually opportunistic when it comes to finding the small space to work with and using it to their advantage. Although both Granlunds are definitely capable offensively, I'm going to have to go with the most obvious choice in Mikael. Not only does he seem to have the offensive edge in the stats department, but he was also routinely one of the best while in Minnesota on the roster, while recording 2 60-point-plus seasons back-to-back for the Wild. Markus had his best campaign statistically thus far while he was playing for Vancouver, with 32 points in 69 games played, with an impressive 19 being goals. Now, it must just be an extra flavor of special to not only have 2 NHL players in the family tree, but also to have a former NBA player and Popeye Jones for a father. But somehow, instead of putting a ball through a hoop, the Joneses ended up netting a different kind of rubber in pucks instead, as both brothers worked their way to the NHL stage through first the U.S. National Development Program, and then later to the WHL. While Seth was pro-ready from the get-go for Nashville, his younger brother needed some more time to hone his craft, while spending a few seasons with the Oilers' AHL affiliate. Both defensemen have represented Team USA on multiple occasions, and have 3 gold medals under their belt. They play a similar game, as they can easily defend and shoot slappers from the blue line with ease, but also aren't afraid to join the rush when need be. When comparing the two, the pick that makes most sense at this present time, at least to me, is the older of the two in Seth, as Caleb hasn't yet been able to reach the threshold that his older brother has with the Jackets, as Seth has not only developed into a great leader for his team, but also has become an extra offensive weapon for CBJ lying in their arsenal. He's very good at identifying scoring opportunities from the back end and recognizing an opening, whether it takes a one-timer or deflection in from a slap shot. The older Jones has represented his team a few times in the NHL All-Star Game and had his best season on record during the 2017-18 season, with an impressive 57 points to his name in 78 games played. Caleb's best was during the last regular campaign, with 9 points in 48 games played.
Do you think you're going to go higher than me? We'll see, but you never know, but I think so.
Is it weird though how this happens? Like, I guess GMs just see the name Nylander and think, yeah, that kid looks like a number 8, sure. Because that's exactly what happened in William and Alex's case. Anyway, while they may have never played on the same squad professionally, the brothers have had the privilege of both playing for Team Sweden simultaneously during the World Juniors. As you may know, both brothers spent time honing their craft in the AHL following their NHL entry. Alex didn't seem to jive as well in Buffalo. Gee, I wonder why. As William did with the Leafs, but since the younger of the two made his way to the Windy City, his numbers have seen a dramatic improvement thus far. But to me at least, I see this one as a dramatic difference in skill, as William has had multiple 61-point seasons and was on track to have his career best with 59 points in 68 games played, prior to the pause, while Alex is coming off his best season yet statistically with 26 points in 65 games played. Definitely a very unique duo here, as the same pair of twins that were once sharing space in the womb later shared the same team in the Vancouver Canucks professionally. Quickly cementing themselves as a dynamic duo early in Sweden, the twins paved their way to the NHL by not only their offensive gifts they displayed, but also their almost telepathic ability of knowing each other's very move. Kinda like Heather and Heidi Burge, minus the 80s hair. Anyways, after graduating to the NHL level, the Sedins dominated with their premier passing and remarkable offensive awareness. While Henrik was known as the playmaker who was making the plays happen, Daniel was notoriously known as the goal scorer. Before retiring, both Sedins were able to reach the 1,000-point threshold, capturing gold medals with Team Sweden and making an appearance in the Stanley Cup Finals of 2011. But before they reached the 4th round, the Twins had their best season on record and simultaneously reached triple digits in points. Daniel with 104 and Henrik with 112. Daniel took home hardware that summer, despite not winning the cup. The Ted Lindsay and the Art Ross, as Henrik received the Hart Trophy, also received the Art Ross for the season before in 2010. Even though this one is very close, as both Swedes were a staple in the NHL world for quite some time, I'm going to have to go with Henrik on this one. Reason being, even though both could set up plays, Henrik was seemingly more efficient at it, statistically anyways, and also, the Canucks saw more leadership abilities in Henrik, as he definitely not only made his brother better on ice, but also his team around him. Netting one past the goaltender on a one-timer is one thing, but actually finding your open man, getting it to him at the precise second is another. Even still, it's by a very slim margin, almost as slim as their previous teammate, Brandon Flat Stanley Sutter.
Flat Stanley. Sutsy has a few nicknames, kind of giving him a little crap there, just bugging him.
You don't want me.
I don't think I'm going to comment on Flat Stanley. He doesn't like it, so I don't want to make it worse.
Is that, you hear that from the mic, or?
Play, Stan. Let's go, Stan.
Flat Stanley himself, Brandon.
Oh man. How do you feel about that? I'd kind of just gotten used to it, I guess. At first I wasn't too excited about it, but it doesn't really bother me anymore.
That's just because he's so skinny. I don't know who came up with the Flat Stanley.